Are you trying to figure out how to install an Arduino library? Well, I'm going to show you 3 different ways on how to get it done. I'll show you the easy way, and then I'll show you the manual way you can do it if you're getting some like weird library that you want to include. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so here I am in the Arduino IDE, and I just want to say real quick, what the heck is an Arduino library? You probably know this, but let's just cover our bases. So basically, an Arduino library is just some code that some other programmer or programmers have written, and they've packaged it up in a very specific way, and then they make it available to anybody who wants to use Arduino to use their library. That was pretty darn generous of them for them to do that. A lot of these people are extremely experienced, and they may have spent even years working and perfecting this code. And what's great about this is when you use Arduino libraries, it allows you to leverage other software developers' expertise. Because to be honest, if you want to use some complicated piece of hardware, like some electronic sensor or actuator, you might actually have to study the manuals for that pretty in depth to try to develop the software to run that appropriately, right? But luckily, all these other folks, they've already done all that hard work, and they're making that hard work available in the form of an Arduino library. Okay, so an Arduino library is code packaged in a specific way that's made available to us Arduino programmers. Okay, so that's what an Arduino library is. Here's what's interesting. The Arduino IDE, either IDE 1 or IDE 2, both of them, they come pre-installed with some libraries. So if you go up to the top of your Arduino IDE and you go to Sketch, and then you come down to Include Library, and you scroll over here, you see there's this little header here. It says Arduino Libraries, okay? So this little section right here, these are libraries that are pre-installed with the Arduino IDE. So I don't have to download the EEPROM library. I don't have to download the Human Interface Device library or the software serial. These ones, they're already there, right? So if I wanted to include those, all I would do is click it. And you know what? I'll just click this. I'll show you what happens. I'll click EEPROM. So see how I clicked EEPROM and then this little line showed up right here? So what this line of code is doing is telling the Arduino IDE that it wants you to get this file, this EEPROM.h, because this is just like a program file, right? It says, get this file, and literally I want you to paste it up in here when it's time to compile the program. So if you're pressing the verify or the upload button, right? It's going to take the code that's in EEPROM.h and it's literally going to paste it in here. Now you won't see that code getting pasted. It's going to do that behind the scenes, but that's all that's happening. It's taking this code, sticking it at the top. All right. Okay. So what we just did here is we didn't install the EEPROM library. We just included it in our sketch, right? So now in this sketch, I can reference functions in the EEPROM library. But if we want to actually install a library into the Arduino IDE, one that didn't come prepackaged with it, then we need to pull in that library from usually the internet, right? And that there's lots of different ways you can do that with the Arduino IDE. Okay, but let me just show you real quick. I'm going to go back to Sketch, and I'm going to say Include Library. See this section down here under Arduino Libraries where it says Contributed Libraries? When you pull in a library from a third party, from an outside source, they're going to be listed here. Right down here. So these, you can see I've got a ton of different libraries in here. Probably not much compared to a lot of people. Some people probably have a ton. Maybe you don't have any right now. You're just getting started. Doesn't matter, right? Okay, so when we import a library, it will show up here under contributed libraries. So, okay, how the heck do we import a library? Well, I want to put a quick pause on this, okay? And this is going to annoy you, and I'm not trying to be super annoying, as my kids would say, but here's the deal. In life, sometimes you need to do pre-work before you do the work, okay? So the work itself is super easy, but what really matters is the pre-work, setting it up, right? Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, before you just willy-nilly start importing libraries into the Arduino IDE, you need to do a little research on the library, right? Why are you getting the library and which one are you getting? So maybe, for example, you have a project and you want to include an accelerometer into the project, okay? So what you might do is you might just like, oh, I'll just randomly import any accelerometer library, right? A better approach, though, is to do a little research on which accelerometer library you want to pull in. Or maybe you already have the part number, like the exact accelerometer you want to use. So maybe you would Google like Arduino library for, this specific accelerometer, right? You might get like multiple options. And then what you want to do is like compare which one you think is going to be the best. Now, as far as like making that decision, that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're going to talk here. If you want to learn about that stuff, check out programmingelectronics.com. We've got training that dives into all that kind of stuff. But you just want to do the pre-work. Okay, so now let's say you've okay, I know what library I want to get. I'm going to go ahead and import it. So here's the easy way to do it. And first I'm going to show all the ways in Arduino IDE 2, and then I'll show you in Arduino IDE 1, which is both of them are still used extensively. Okay, over here on the left, there's these icons. And all you have to do is click the one that looks like a bookshelf. Now, before you do that, what's interesting, a little known Arduino Easter egg, if you zoom in on this icon, they've made some interesting selection of books here, Anyway, okay, so you click this and this pops out, this little shelf pops out, and you see there's this huge list, right? So this huge list right here are all the Arduino libraries that third parties have contributed to the Arduino ecosystem, essentially, right? And, Arduino has a mechanism by which people can contribute libraries. In fact, I contributed one. Let's see if we can find it here. ChatGPT. I think there it is. ChatGPT by Mike Chase. See? So I've already installed that library. But anyway, there's a mechanism, and it's actually pretty easy to contribute a library to the Arduino ecosystem. Anyway, so what you do is you search for your library. So let's say I'm just going to search for accelerometer. I'm not sure I'm spelling that right. Okay, here we go. Now see that this list has been filtered. That's pretty common. And I've got this massive list of different libraries for, looks like, most of them are for accelerometer stuff, right? So I've got to know, hey, which one do I want? Now, let's say I've chosen the one that I want, and let's say I'm working with this LSM60SOX. Okay. All I'm going to do is click install. That's all I got to do. Now, notice you can pick the version. That's kind of cool. I think it defaults to the most recent one, okay? You can click more info. This will take you to the GitHub page where this code repository is hosted. But I'm just going to click install. And then down in the right-hand side, it says, hey, I'm installing this, and it gives you some information on the output. Okay, and that's the easy way to do it, all right? Now, what actually happened, though? I pressed some buttons, I don't know, threw some text at me, I don't know. What actually happened? Okay, so here's what happened. The Arduino IDE, it went out to the internet and it downloaded a file. It downloaded some code. And then it stuck it in a very specific place. And I'm going to show you right now where that place is. Okay, so there's this concept with the Arduino IDE, and it's called the Sketchbook Folder. Okay, now what I'm about to tell you is not esoteric in any way, shape, or form. This is actually really important for you as you learn how to develop Arduino. So I'm not talking about some weird, obscure thing. Okay, so the Arduino Sketchbook Folder is where all the files that you write, all the Arduino programs you write are going to get saved in this folder, okay? And this folder is usually under My Documents Arduino, okay? So that folder called Arduino in My Documents, that's the default location, that is the name of your Sketchbook folder. And to check this, all you do is you go to Settings or Preferences, all right? And right here, it says Sketchbook Folder Location, and you can see mine is in Users, Michael Chach, Documents, Arduino. So, it might be My Documents, whatever. So this is my Sketchbook folder. So now let's go to this Sketchbook folder, all right? So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take a look at this Sketchbook folder. Okay, so here I am in my Sketchbook folder. So Arduino is the name of my Sketchbook folder. It probably is the name of yours too. Again, that's the default setting when you install the Arduino IDE. And so I'm in my sketchbook folder, and inside everybody's sketchbook folder, there is a folder called libraries. And this folder right here is the magical place that code that you just downloaded, that the Arduino IDE downloaded for you, this is the magical place that code is going to go. So, hey, let's go ahead and take a look at this mysterious place. Okay, so what was that thing we downloaded? What did we say it was? Arduino LSM63S. Arduino oh, bam, there it is. Okay, wow, that's cool. All right, so now I'm going to open this folder. Let's take a look what's in here. Okay, so in an Arduino library folder, you're going to have some specific other folders. Okay, so one very common one is the examples folder. And in the example folder is where they have some example sketches. Okay, so they usually have an example folder, not always, but usually, and here will be those example sketches. Okay, so another folder they might have in here is called SRC. That stands for source. That's like where the source code is. Okay, so when you click this, in here, this is where they're going to have a .h and a .cpp file. So CPP, that would stand for C++, and .h is the header file. Okay, so these are just like code files, and they are what are specifying like the functions and the code that essentially make up that library. Let's look at some of these other files here. All right, so this one, keywords.txt. This keywords file, this identifies which words that the library author want to be highlighted in the Arduino IDE. Like, you know how some of the words in the IDE change colors? You know, they're like keywords and stuff. Well, you can do that for contributed libraries. You can make like the word change color, which is pretty cool. All right, so they would do that in keywords.txt. Okay, and then there might be some other stuff in here. It looks like they've got some documentation in here. So this is kind of interesting stuff. Now, importing an Arduino library into Arduino IDE 1 is just as easy. All you do is go up to Sketch, Include Library, and you click Manage Libraries. And what it does is it's going to open up a window. So instead of some like shelf coming out of the side, it just opens up a window here, and this is your library manager, and you're going to do the exact same thing. Usually it'll kind of like update your list of installed libraries here, and all you're going to do is type in what you're searching for, and then it's going to filter them just like Arduino IDE 2.0. So same exact process. I'm just going to wait patiently for these libraries to update. All right, so I can just search for Excel, and now stuff will come up for accelerometers. Okay, and then you would just click install, same exact thing. Now here's what's really cool. Arduino IDE 2 and Arduino IDE 1, you can have them installed on your computer at the exact same time, and they share the same Arduino sketchbook folder with that same library folder. So if I installed it on Arduino IDE 2.0, it's going to be in when I go to Arduino 1.0. Same exact thing. Okay, so I just showed you the easy way of how to install an Arduino library. So let's say we installed that library. Now we both know, like, hey, where did that library actually go? Well, it's just in your Arduino sketchbook folder under the libraries folder. Okay, so that's where the code lives. Now, what if we want to actually like add it to our program and start using it? Well, then we have to include the library in our sketch, just like we did before. So now if you go up to Sketch, Include Library, now we can go to contributed libraries, right? Because that library we looked at, we added it, right? We can come down here and let's look, what was it? It was called Arduino. Here it is right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that, and bam, it just inserts that right there. Now, that's just a little like handy helper thing, right? You don't actually have to do that. Like I could just manually type out, include, and then, I could type this out, right? There's nothing magical about going to Sketch, Include Library, and then like pressing this. It literally just inserts the code that you need for, or that line of code, right? So you could manually write it out if you wanted to. Anyway, it's just trying to like save you some button clicks, maybe save you from mistyping it. Okay, so that's that. So now you know how to install a library and how to include it, and then you can actually start using the code in here. All right, so here's the deal. Sometimes you might have to install an Arduino library manually, okay? Now, it's pretty darn easy to do, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it, okay? Now, the reason you might have to do this is because maybe the third party that made the code, maybe they have not submitted it to Arduino yet. So that could just be one of the reasons. And so when you go searching for it, it's not in that library manager. You're kind of like, hey, what gives? Well, you're just going to find it somewhere else, right? Like maybe it's on their website, or maybe it's on GitHub. It just hasn't been submitted yet. So let's talk about the first scenario. If you have a zip file for the library, there's a way to install it from zip. So let me give you a concrete example here. So here I am on GitHub, okay? And GitHub's this huge code repository, all right? And what I want to do is get this Morse code library up here, okay? And let's just pretend that, hey, this is not in the Arduino ecosystem. All right, maybe it is, I don't know. So I just going to click this code button, and I'm going to say download the zip file, right? Because you got to have for this first method, you need to have a zip file. So now I'm going to download this file, and it really doesn't matter where you download it, as long as you know where you download it. So I'm just going to download it to like my downloads, right? So it's called Morse Master. I'll hit save. Okay, so now I have a zip file. I'm not going to unzip it. I'm going to come over to the Arduino IDE, and I'm going to go to Sketch, Include Library, and then I'm going to say Add Zip Library. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to open up a window, and it's going to say, hey, look for this library. So I think I saved that in downloads, and what did we call that? Morse, here it is, morsemaster.zip. All right, and then I'm just going to click open. Okay, and then it's saying, hey, I'm processing this. It says the library's been installed, successfully installed that library. Now, adding a zip file library using Arduino IDE 1 is the exact same thing. So all you do is go up to Sketch, Include Library, Add Zip Library. Same exact process. Okay, hey, that was pretty easy, right? That was a manual install. But you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to Sketch, Include Library. Where should we find this? That's right. We should find it under the contributed libraries, right? Because we had to install this. It's like doesn't come pre-installed. Let's see if we can find Morse. Okay, there it is. Morse right here. If I click that, it should include Morse. All right, that's cool. Well, hey, let's just triple check. Let's see if that folder is in our libraries folder in our Arduino sketchbook. So I'm going to go look in there again. All right, so here I am in my Arduino sketchbook folder. I'm going to come down to libraries. All right, here's all the libraries. And I'm just looking around. It was called Morse, right? So oh, there it is, Morse. And what files are in here? Okay, well, notice here, so we have an examples folder, okay? And we've got the keywords, cool. And then we have morse.cpp and morse.h. Those are the actual code files themselves. Like, okay, sweet. So that's one way to manually install a library. Here's another way to do it, and you don't even use the Arduino IDE. So check it out. So what do you think I might do here? I'm curious, what do you think I might do in order to put another library, make another contributed library available? All right, so check it out. Here's another library. It's called Timer1. Okay, so here I am again on GitHub, and I'm going to go ahead and download this Timer1 library. Let's assume that it's not available in the Arduino IDE. All right, so I'm going to just go to download zip, and I am going to save it right in the Arduino sketchbook folder. All right, so I'm in Arduino. I'm going to come down to that libraries folder. It's in here somewhere, right? Here's libraries. Okay. All right, so here we are in the libraries folder, and I'll just click save. Okay, so now I have saved this. So let's go to that folder now. So here I am again. I'm in my sketchbook folder, Arduino, and I'm in, it looks like I'm in the libraries folder. Here we are, right here. Here's the libraries folder. And what did we just save? We saved Timer1. So I'm going to come and I'm going to look for the zip file that I did. Here it is, right here, Timer1. Now, it looks like I already have that in here. I'm just going to move that puppy to the trash. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unzip this. Now, I happen to be on a Mac, so I can just double click this and it'll unzip that for me. Okay. If you're on a PC, I think you right click and do like WinZip, something like that. Okay. Now, once I've unzipped this file, I can get rid of that zip. So I'm just going to go ahead and move that to the trash. Here is this folder right here, Timer1 master. And when I open this, notice we've got timer1.cpp and timer1.h. Now here's the dealio, and this is massively problematic. The name of this folder and the name of the .h file that you're going to first call need to match. Okay, so notice that this one says timer1-master, and this one just says timer1.h. Well, you have to change the name of this so that they match. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to change it to timer1. Now they match, so I had to do that manually. Notice when we use the Arduino IDE, you didn't have to do that. So anyway, so I did that. Now I'm going to come back over to the Arduino IDE. Now, before your Arduino IDE will show you that library in the contributed libraries, you need to close and reopen the Arduino IDE. So I'll just do that real quick. And now when I go to Sketch, Include Library, scroll down, I should see timer1. And there it is. Sweet. Okay, so there's 3 ways to install an Arduino library. Now there's one little trick I want to show you. You know, we've been installing these libraries, and do you remember that examples folder that we saw in several of those libraries? Check this out. If you go up to File, Examples, and you come down here and it says Examples from Custom Libraries, this is where you're going to find those example sketches that were included. So before we had Morse, right? So this serial example is an example of how to use the Morse library. And then what did we do? We did timer1. Look, there's 3 different examples here on how to use this timer1 library. So that's a really great place to start when you're trying to learn how to use the code in one of these libraries. Now, if you're really into this Arduino stuff and you want to just accelerate your skills, I highly recommend checking out programmingelectronics.com. We have a great training program there. But hey, while you're here, you should check out this video, Arduino in 90 minutes. It's been viewed almost 2 million times, and it's going to really help you fill in some of the dots about how to use Arduino.